Hi, and thanks for the opportunity. It's actually very exciting to have so many creative people around me. And that was definitely a fascinating presentation, which got many things for me to think about. Point Grab has only one product. That is the product. It's a sensor that is can be placed on the top of office space, but not only office space, as you will see shortly. And it provides with certain layers of data. It can tell you how many people are within a certain space. It can tell you where they are located. It will not tell you who these people are. So while protecting people's privacy, our technology allows organizations, architects, consultants, companies from very, very large variety of industries to understand what actually happens within the space. What we're trying to do is to be a market leader in digitizing smart buildings, because when we speak about smart buildings, it is sometimes in between what's happening in the academy and what's happening with architects. But in reality, smart buildings are already happening. Now, how would you define a smart building? Does someone have an idea what would make one building smarter than another?
The Edge, Amsterdam.
The Edge Amsterdam is an example for a building that was considered at the time probably the smartest building in the world. Only one thing. It was opened 2015, right? So that's 4 years ago. In order for a building to be opened in 2015, they have to start the project pretty much 5 years, 6 years earlier. But that tells you that what is considered probably the smartest building in the world uses technology that is today 10 years old. How do we know that? Because Edge, which is now a company, not only a building, that has a few buildings around Europe, contacted us to try and see what they can do in order to make their building smart. But that's a good example. There's an initiative now in the UK to try and create a building that will be self-contained. No staff at all. Neither for cleaning, nor for reception, nor for maintenance, nothing. The building will treat itself. You will only have guests or employees in the building. But this is where the world is going to. Now, this is kind of a parallel, perhaps, step between your presentation and mine. So this is what people used to call open space. Not in the 19th century, 10 years ago. In some places in the world, 10 months ago. Okay, people are still sitting this way. I do not want to touch any soft spots, but if you intend to work at a certain stage in an insurance company, but the world has moved. Lucky for all of us, the world has moved. And today you will see more and more spaces like were presented before. More and more organizations are trying to create a balance between the welfare of an employee, a creative surrounding in which people will work in, but also be very aware of the expenses and the costs of things. A little bit of data, if you wish. 10 years ago, the average area per employee in a space would be 75 square meters. Okay? So if you had 100 employees, you would pretty much as an average place them in a building of 7,500 square meters. You can imagine 4 to 5 stories high. Well, 5 years ago, this number dropped dramatically. And that is why, I assume most of you may guess, why do we give today less space per employee? Real estate is very, very costly, to be honest. Beyond the salaries or the expenses that are related directly to employees, for all organizations, the number 2 expense is real estate. So organizations always come and see today, what can we do to try and reduce our real estate costs? So it went to 20 square meters per employee, it is now 13 square meters per employee. I can tell you that in some places it is even lower than that. Now, how do we still manage to do all that and yet keep employees' satisfaction? You know, we're speaking about millennials, right? How many of this room consider themselves millennials, just for the sake of it? Yeah, about 2. Yeah, millennials, it's just a word, right? Don't really exist. Well, they do. Honestly, they do. And they come to work in Lily's offices in Tel Aviv, or in other offices in New York or in London, and they are different than, this is my language, my generation. They expect other things. And if my parents worked 45 or 50 years in the same place, we already don't, and the millennials definitely will not. And they want to make sure that their working environment is dramatically brilliant. How do we make the cross between, or the conflict between reducing the real estate and yet improving the way employees can work? Well, we'll try and touch that in a while. The while is the probably 3 minutes that I have left. So how can I attract and retain the best talent in the industry? How do I actually make my building smart, and how do I utilize it? And all the issues that I already touched. So if we look at monitoring a space, the space is very, very different. There is a table for 3 here, there's a meeting room here, there are all sorts of open space and open desking. If I have to manage this space, I'm clueless. I do not know how many people do I have on board every day. I do not know what is the usage of the meeting room. And you tell me, yes, but Ron, people are ordering the meeting room so they can use it, so you can follow up on that. Oh, that's nice. And what if they cancel? And what if they didn't cancel and yet do not show up? So there is where you need the data. And there is where our technology comes. This is the sensor, and it can do a few things. As I said, it can count people, it can tell us where they are, so you can obviously use heat maps and all sorts of information together, whether you want to know how many people went to the cafeteria, where are they located, if there are 2 different desks in the cafeteria, which one was more attractive, if we're sitting in a meeting room, where are majority of the people sitting, and if we're sitting in hot desking area or open space, how many people actually come and sit in the space. This is a screenshot of what actually is our biggest site currently, but hopefully in 3 months it will not. That's the Deloitte offices in London. Their headquarters in number 1 New Street. It's a brilliant building, to be honest. And what you see here is just a screenshot that shows you what our sensors can see. So you can see a meeting room that has numerous people, and you'll see the count over here. All those areas are what we call detection area. There's a green point here, that's a sensor. Every sensor can cover up to 50 square meters, and within that space, our customer can define what they want to measure. They want to measure per desk, they get it per desk. They want to measure per meeting room, they get it per meeting room. And what you see here is, because we're in the architecture faculty, will not be such a difficult question, but what is this area? The restrooms, yeah. You're shy. There's one sensor here, and those are hypothetical lines. They don't really exist, right? They're only virtual. But what they do is, this sensor allows us to count every person that comes in and out of the toilet area. Why is this important? Because when you reach number 40, the cleaner on the 10th floor gets an SMS and say, go and clean the ladies' room on the 10th floor. Now that's a smart building. It works for you. You do not send the cleaner to clean every 1.5 hours or every 3 hours or according to your budget. You actually send them there when they are needed. Okay, so that's a very small use case, but it shows you what we can do in occupancy management. It can show you what we do with managing meeting rooms and all sorts of other things. This is something that is almost totally parallel to what we see. Today, a lot of the things are happening away from the desks. You want to know what's happening, you want to know where people are, you will need to track it. Other alternatives in the market today, I'll just skip it because they're not as good as ours, so I'm not wanting to touching it. And what I wanted to show you in the last 2 slides is what we actually can provide our customers, which hopefully in the future will be your customers, right? Okay, so beyond the very fact of how a floor looks, when an employee of Deloitte comes in the morning to work, he comes to the lobby, he has a touch screen the size of a fridge, and he can scroll in between floors and decide where he wants to sit. He chooses that seat, and now it is reserved for him. Once it's reserved, it becomes red. When he sits there, it's red. If he's off his seat for 2 hours, it becomes orange. Another hour, it will become green again, so someone else can pick it. Right? Because if you went to a meeting room or you went to a customer, you left your laptop there, you don't want someone else to come and sit. On the other hand, you can see, or the same hand, you can see how the employees behave during the day. So they start coming at 7 o'clock. The peak is around 10:30 or 11. What's happening here? People are going for lunch. Not all of them, though, as you can see. But what you can see is that the peak usage in this flow is 45%. That means that over a period of time, and we can have it for a week, 3 months, 1 year, whatever you want, the peak occupancy is 45% of the seats. And that tells you that 55% of the seats can basically be given away, sold, rented, become meeting rooms, whatever you want to do with it. But until you had this data, you could not do anything with it. You could assume, you could guess. Now, you have the data. Just one last slide. I know I've exceeded my time frame significantly. Just one more thing. This is a pie that describes the occupancy in meeting rooms at a certain floor. And that will show you that roughly 45% of the time the meeting rooms are empty. This is not a surprise. For those of you who work in the organization, that is the nature of things. It is not full all the time. But the key data, which I think all of us can learn from, is this. 25% of the time there's one person in the meeting room. Why is that? Most probably. The cleaner could be. He's probably making a call. Hot desking is fun, open space is fun, we're trying to utilize the space. But in the end of the day, if I need to now fight with my mom, divorced wife, kids, if I need to speak to a customer, and I sometimes need to be noisy, if I need to have really a private call, I'll probably go and grab a meeting room. Now, meeting room is not really used for that. And the ladies here will show you that there are solutions in the market are so much better than a meeting room. And I know that Mindspace have this, and I know that we've seen the technology before, that those private booths in which you can make a call or at least have your own decency and privacy. So this is only part of what we can provide. I'm sorry that I went out of line with the time.